So it's always a pleasure to talk to Brett. He's been on my show now for a third time, and I've been on his show a couple of times, and the conversations are always fantastic. What sets Brett's shows apart from so many of the others in the podcast is the brutal and true honesty. There is no beating around the bush with Brett. He will openly talk about his tough times. He will openly talk about his challenges. He will always talk about what grinds his gears, but also what motivates him, what drives him. He will talk about his opportunities. The man truly wears his heart on his sleeve, and this episode is no different. In this episode, we talk about how to love the process, why motivation is utter bullshit, and how you can rely on discipline more than motivation. How do you build momentum? And we talk about his battles through going from online coaching back into in-person coaching, now into group coaching, and what he's learned through that time, from imposter syndrome to different models of business and many, many other things. This is a truly honest and humbling chat. We talk everything here about what it's like to be a personal trainer and also what it's like through the ups and downs of getting in shape. Even going as far to talk about the conversation is, do we ever feel tired of the responsibility of having to walk the walk? This is a conversation that most personal trainers would be too scared to have, thinking that it might take away from their business or take away their aura. But in reality, the way me and Brett look at things is the more honest and more open we can be with our struggles, the more empathy we can have for our clients, and in turn get better results. So I really hope you enjoy the show as much as I enjoyed recording it. And if you want to support the show, please go to our Buy Me a Coffee link and support whatever you can to allow us to give you more free content. Give us a review on your favourite podcast platform, iTunes, Spotify, whatever is your favourite. And share on social media, tagging me at Kingsley Dutton and at Brett Mccarten. And I will leave you with myself and Brett. So Brett, it's always good to have you on. And this is sort of inspired by one of your awesome reels, which I've just found out. Sorry to fuck them up, but how amateur the setup is. But it looks so fucking brilliant about loving the process and learning to love the process. And I think it was a good topic to not only discuss how to teach people to learn to love the process when it comes to training, getting in shape, dieting, etc., and the mistakes people make, but also be able to have a good, honest chat about what the reality is like on the other end. Where, because I don't know if you found this, that I found I've got better results since I've been more human with my clients and let them know that I like a beer and I like a pizza and that I'm not a chicken and broccoli man. I don't know, do you find the same thing? Like, often it's more intimidating than it is helpful to be poster boy.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me back on. This is the third time, I think. But yeah,
if you include the pre-recorded one we put out a couple of weeks ago, then yeah, third time, I think.
We can count it. To an extent, I think, it's always going to be a little bit easier if you are honest. There's no point trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, especially, clients who are buying into you. They're probably going to know a little bit about you, even in your conversations with them. They're probably going to find out a little bit. I say to my clients all the time, I've struggled too. Like I had a Domino's last night. I've probably said this on the last podcast as well. I don't have Domino's all the time. But if you know me, you know that I do love a pizza. But I do know people who they'll give the clients chicken and broccoli, and it will be chicken and broccoli or chicken and rice and broccoli and stuff like that. And it's as bland as it sounds, But then you go on the story and they're eating, pizzas and, it just seems like pizza after pizza after pizza and stuff. And I do think just a little bit of honesty will go a long way, especially in this industry, because there's too many people who are trying to, almost be something they're not. And, I think that's where you start to struggle a little bit.
I totally agree with that. I miss a Domino's. We don't get Domino's here. The closest thing we get is Dough Bros, where they've just launched a carbonara pizza. And I was like, I have to try it.
You know what? Some people would probably say that you're quite lucky that you don't have a Domino's. There's a lot of people like to hate on big chains for some reason. They're like, oh, McDonald's is minging, Domino's is minging. Well, in reality, they're actually both very delicious.
The garlic dip, man. I don't care. Anyone that says that that's not worth Domino's over a more fancy pizza place is lying.
100% agreed. Smashed through the big one last night.
Exactly. I remember like a while back, I had a girl that lost 25 kilos and got to 147.5 kilo deadlift in the process, like monstrous New Zealand girl. And she said to me, she finished a session once, and I mentioned that my coach at the time, which was Adam Haley, actually, a long time ago, gave me a pizza and a dessert as a refeed. And she said, the moment I started listening about the diet was the moment you told me you had a Domino's pizza, because it made you realize that you weren't just different to me. Like you generally, you like this stuff too. You go through the same struggles. I think a lot of people think that PTs are this, I can't wait for my chicken and broccoli fix. And like confession mode here, one of the titles we're talking about was Honest Chat. I'm still, 11 years into this industry, not a big fan of vegetables.
Me neither, mate.
I suck it up.
That's why I have to use the greens powder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got my shapeshifter shape, which is greens powder. And then I suck it up where I need to. Yeah, like I don't know where this image is that we already like it. We just know the importance of it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like even with whey protein, in the past I've had a few people say to me, oh, I'm not massive on the taste. It's, not the nicest flavor. And it's like, suck it up. I don't say suck it up with all of it, but it's like, suck it up. It's going to be 10 seconds, if that, when you're down your protein shake. If you're trying to savor it, and it, you're filling it up with like 600 mils of water, yeah, it's going to take a lot longer, but it's almost like veg. Like if you're not massive on veg, which I wouldn't say that in my dietary intake I get enough veg. Mm-hmm. So that probably makes me quite a poor PT. But even the greens powder, it's disgusting. Well, sorry, I can't do anything about that. But it's a necessary evil for us. If I want decent energy, if I want to sleep well, if I want to feel more energetic later in the day, then this is one of the things that I'm going to have to do, whether it's disgusting or not. Now, I'm not saying that with all your food. All your food doesn't have to be disgusting or bland or boring or whatever, but there's probably going to be that little bit in there that you're like, well, suck it up.
I think there's a middle ground here, right? I think you tend to get two camps when it comes to dieting, and both end up hitting a brick wall quicker than they need to. You get the people who it's got to be hardcore. It's got to be super clean chicken and broccoli. And those people crash and burn very quickly. I had an inquiry today from somebody who was like, initially, so we started a conversation initially going, oh man, I wish I could afford it, but I'd really like, your page. I'm like, oh, no worries, but let me know what your goals are. See if I can help free of charge. Just like, and he goes, yeah, I know I can do it. I've done the chicken and broccoli thing before, but I think it's just that I don't have a deadline. And I just looked and I went, no wonder you need a deadline to get in fucking shape, because you're relying on eating chicken and broccoli for every meal. Like, if I would need some serious deadline to make me want to do that. But then you get the other camp on the flip side of that, where everything has to be gourmet a la carte. The people who are food snobs, where it's like Wednesday afternoon in between meetings has to taste some. It's just like, just get it in. Like Saturday night with the partner and the family is a different meal to Wednesday between 4 or 5 back-to-back meetings.
100%. I couldn't imagine. Like, so I've been making, like, it's not even a bad meal, but I have like a sweet chili chicken baguette, like half a baguette that I prep in advance. And I couldn't imagine having that on a Saturday night or a Friday night. I'd be like, get in the bin. What are you doing? Like, it has to be fun, as well. Like, I'm creating for the family half the time. So what I am, at least, like, what do we have to do? Do you know what I mean? Whereas, that you don't have to be so one or the other. There can be that leeway. But I remember I was having a chat with someone once, and what did they say to me? They said, oh, my diet's pretty good, but if I want a pizza, I'll fucking have a pizza. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, that's probably where you're struggling a little bit, because you're probably wanting to have a pizza 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, exactly. I think it always comes down to the fact of taking ownership. Like, there's the anti-taking data movement in the fitness industry of, like, it creates a bad relationship with food and things like this. And there are exceptions to this rule. Like, someone's gone through crazy eating disorders. I'm not going to sit there and go, right, my fitness pal is for you. But there is a trend I see I often get people going, how do you have guys on like 3,500 calories and eating their pizza and still like getting leaner? And I'm like, well, it's nothing magical. It's not that I've like made them more metabolically flexible, although that might have a small part to play. It's not that they're they've got this secret diet hack. It's literally because they're so precise on their tracking so often that they know the general weekday meals is so perfect that when you have that Saturday night meal, it doesn't touch the sides. Whereas the person that sort of wings it and cuts corners and doesn't have that attention to detail, they have that pizza, let's say on a Saturday night, and they go, man, that pizza made me so fat. No, it's the pizza on top of the cookies, on top of the partner's plate chips, on top of the lattes, on top of everything else that made you fat. But the other person dialed everything in. That pizza was one of many, many meals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, I feel like you're calling me out a little bit there. You're 100% right. I think people do take it way, way too far, and they don't take ownership about the fitness levels, and unfortunately, that's something that I've seen firsthand. Well, not just from me, but from previous clients as well, who won't mind me saying they haven't taken ownership. 100% transparency here. A lot of people think they're just getting a coach and they're like, yeah, I'll get told how to do this. I'll get told how to do this. I'm sorry, but getting a personal trainer, getting a coach will not fix your issues for you. Like, if you're not doing the rest of the stuff that we're trying to help you build, whether it's sleep, whether it's fucking time management, whether it's scheduling, all that sort of stuff is going to make your day, and I'm building onto a bit of a domino effect here, but it's going to make your day easier so you're stressing less than not feeling like you need to go have this air quote cheat meal later in the week and then feel more horrendous. And just take ownership for it, because we can't do the work for you. We can't do it. We can give you the advice, but if you turn around and say, oh, I'm not hungry, so I haven't been getting all my meals in, but then in another sentence you're telling me you're snacking, well, let's stop the snacking and get your fucking meals in then. This is the stuff that we've built around you, not like around you and your lifestyle and what you enjoy. This is the stuff that you said you enjoy. So we created it together. So why are you then going and having a twirl or like loads of other stuff, or, a pizza or McDonald's chicken nuggets when you've got this stuff that you said you really enjoyed at home? It's almost like that. We've got pizza at home, and you get the pizza at home and it's like Morrison's Own or stuff like that. It's not that bad, but people do need to take ownership for their decisions. And genuinely, I don't think that happens enough anymore, because I find that I feel like this is very rant. I always have rants on your podcast. I've just got a lot to say, mate.
I like them though. I don't think I have enough ranty guests.
Good. That's why you keep bringing me back on, mate.
And I am exactly the same. I like being able to rant back.
Yeah, everyone's got an excuse these days. It's not even, some of it's not even a reason. Everyone's got an excuse as to why they're not doing something that's important to them. Like, what's your excuse? How is that going to outweigh the reason? What am I trying to say? You're making an excuse as to why you can't do something that's going to benefit you. Okay. So what's the reason behind your excuse? How does that outweigh the benefits? And they'll probably turn around and be like, it doesn't, but it's easier. Well, life's not fucking easy. So the sooner we realize that, we've got bills, we've got taxes, we've got fucking kids, we've got school runs, we've got work, we've got working out, we've got the gym, we've got food prep.
You choose your hard, right? I know that's cliche these days, but you choose your hard. And, I had something with a client the other day who was like, he was justifying to me a pizza. And by the way, I love the subliminal marketing that you did there with the domino effect. This is like, I should get sponsored by Domino's for this episode. But
didn't even realize.
He was like, I needed a pizza because I was exhausted, because I had multiple businesses, families, all these kind of things. And then he was talking about why I just don't have time for steps. And I was like, we had a conversation. It was like, well, when you go to your meetings, how do you get there? I drive. How far away do you park? Right outside. Could you park down the road? Yeah, I could park down the road. Okay, cool. How much time do you spend answering emails? A lot. Okay, do you have emails on your phone? Yeah. Could you answer some of them on your phone and walk around the office? Yeah, I could do that. So you do have time for steps.
Yeah.
You choose not to. I had the same thing with a client last week where she was like, "Oh, I'm going to this place today." Okay, what's the menu? It's only pizza. I could have nothing but pizza. Oh, sure. Okay, what's the name of the place? Looked at the menu. There was loads of options, tons of options. But it's like, I would rather you go, "I really like a pizza," than go, "Nah, there's just nothing. Physically impossible." I went to a bar and there was no soft drinks, not one. Couldn't even have water. They only served vodka and beer. And like, is it though? I'd much rather you just go, "Do you know what? I really wanted it." Like, take ownership both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's kind of two camps here, and you mentioned two camps before. I feel like sometimes I just, when you hear something, you end up saying it like 5 minutes later. I feel like it's one of them right now. But there is an element of motivation, right? Motivation is this small, very, very small thing. And I think more people need to identify that as a small thing, because it's not a big thing and can't be relied upon. Like in a way, you rely upon friends and family to not let you down, right? You can't rely upon motivation. It's not big enough, right? So your why has got to be important. That's going to be a reason of why you're doing stuff, okay? Yes, if we're dieting, if we're leaning out, you want to know your why. You want to feel confident on the beach. Why do you want to feel confident? Well, I used to be bullied because I was a little bit bigger and this sort of stuff. So your why is very important. But that's got to carry you through. Now, it's got to carry you through to your end goal and past that. And I think this is one of the reasons why you wanted to pick this topic, because, I spoke on social media about the person who enjoys walking will always go further. It's funny to talk about steps though. But the person who enjoys walking will always go further than the person who just enjoys the destination. You have to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, the motivation will do absolutely nothing. So if you're, coming to us or, coming to me and being like, "I've got no motivation," that's an excuse. Like, I couldn't, you're 4 months into the process now. I couldn't give a fuck if you've got no motivation. We should have been at the point now where you're doing this, not necessarily day in, day out, but you're used to scheduling this in. You're used to turning up. You're used to overloading them weights and working harder in the gym and seeing the results. But now when you can blank us for 2 weeks and then say you've got no motivation, but who's that benefiting? And I can turn around. I'm going to be totally honest with this conversation. I can turn around at the end of the day and be like, "Well, you blanked me for them 2 weeks, but I'm still getting paid," right? Which is a dicky way to look at things. It is. I'm still getting paid. But you talk to my partner, you talk to Jodie and say, "How's Brett getting on?" And she will tell you, he is so frustrated. He is so frustrated. Jodie was actually going to be a personal trainer until she saw the levels of stress that I went through with particular clients, and she was like, I don't want to have to deal with that, so I feel like I don't deal with that. That's something that I do love doing, but it is a frustration for me when I hear excuses like, "I've got no motivation," because this is the shit that you should be loving doing.
And you see what's possible, right? And that's the thing I think frustrates me sometimes. I see what's possible, and I see that the excuse come out of your mouth, and I'm like, do you really think this is going to work? Do you really think in the last 11 years, in my case, I have not seen someone busy get steps in or get their food? And like, motivation is really interesting. I hate when someone says motivation for that exact reason. And it's not only is it a little thing, it's also random. Right?
Yeah.
I will get motivation to do so. I'm in the shower. I go, "Oh, I've got an idea. I want to be motivated." I'm sitting on the toilet playing Candy Crush. I'm like, "Oh, fuck, yeah, I'm really motivated." This isn't the time I'm going to rush out without wiping my ass and go to the gym. Like, sometimes it just needs to get done. Sometimes it needs to be non-negotiables that are set and systems that are in play that you just do. If you're relying on motivation, you won't get anywhere. And I listened to a podcast with the Die of a CEO podcast, Stephen Bartlett, and he was chatting to the owner of Deliveroo. He said exactly the same thing. He went, "People who get into a business with the aim of making money rarely do something. The people that go in loving the idea of how to solve a problem are the people that make it. Same thing with dieting.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, you've hit the nail on the head there. And, even in terms of motivation, we said that it is a small thing. It can't be relied upon. But you're right. It is absolutely random. You might find a new music playlist, okay? And you might be like, right, I'm motivated to go to the gym. You might get a new workout program, motivated to go to the gym.
Keith Lee debuts in AEW. I'm motivated to go to the gym. That one got me.
Go to the gym.
That one got me so much. Watching him throw a guy across the ring, I'm like, I want to get strong.
Yeah. But this is, basically it all boils down, motivation all boils down to these hits of dopamine. These things that are going to, get us excited and want us to pursue something. It's that dopamine. It's that happiness it's that having something, right? Now, how are we going to get that dopamine hit? Well, we can get on the hedonistic treadmill and find that reward-seeking behavior where we're going to go for motivation and, get it and then lose it and then look for something else and then get it and then lose it and then go for something else. Or we can look at our values, look at our beliefs, look at what's important to us and do something pretty often, do the same shit daily, right? And that's when we're going to get that hit of dopamine. Because that's when we're going to sleep better, right? So we're going to get the serotonin, the melatonin in, which are happiness and our sleep hormones. I know you know that, but other listeners might not. Our happiness and our sleep hormones. Then we're going to get the dopamine from that because we're doing the stuff, we're enjoying the process, and we're seeing the results. That's what happens from that. And then that motivation, that small thing, it's something in the background. It's still small. It's in the background, but you're used to doing stuff. So you're feeling happier, you're feeling healthier. Everyone talks about these endorphins that we release at the end of a workout. Again, it's that hit of dopamine. So if you're waiting for that motivation to go and do the shit that you should be doing, what's the term I'm looking for? You're running a race that you're not going to finish. I don't even know if that's a term. I might have just made that up right now. But that's very much how it feels. And I think that's where a level of frustration is when I hear I'm not motivated. Well, let's crack on with the habits that we've built.
Yeah.
And in a way, it is such a PT thing to say, we're going to build habits. Fucking right, we're going to build habits. Yeah, I'm going to tell you to go to bed an hour early because you're staying up till midnight. Yes, I'm going to tell you to get your meal timings in a certain time. Yes, we're going to wake up 30 minutes early because you've been laying in bed just sitting on scrolling on your phone. All this adds up, man. And that's where when you are laying in bed for that 30 minutes, well, suddenly we're less productive because we haven't got that extra 30 minutes. Suddenly we're rushing around. Suddenly we become stressed. Where do you think that motivation is going to come from? None of them. In fact, it's going to get even smaller because you're now stressed. You're in a situation where you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself, a lot of time pressure as well. So now you're struggling to get your training in, you're struggling to get your breakfast in. And then because you didn't get your breakfast in, then you're going towards the pizza, the burger, the snacks, the cookies, the donuts. People are bringing biscuits in. Oh, I feel like I'm just going on, but...
Yeah. You want motivation to be replaced by momentum, right? Momentum builds confidence, which builds results. And I think that's what you often find. The thing you spoke earlier about feeling frustrated when clients don't, not so much follow the plan, but I suppose for me, the thing that ends up frustrating me is when people end up on the hamster wheel of dieting, where they never took true ownership. They never communicated issues. So you end up in this thing where you never know what's going on. They tell you, I want to diet. I really want to diet. I need to get leaner. And their actions don't follow their words. And those people always end up what I call in diet limbo, where he goes, I feel like I've been dieting forever, so I'm not motivated to diet. But I am far too fat to move into a true lifestyle phase or muscle building phase. So I just end up in this hamster wheel of not doing what I'm told, but my calories say 1,700, but I'm actually on 2,800. And I won't tell my coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do in those situations? Because this happens to every coach, right? Where you look at someone and go, you're 120 kilos, you're apparently on 600 calories because we've dropped them because you're not losing. And you go, no chance. And they go, No, I'm on it. I'm sticking to it. Especially when you look at someone's stories and you see dinners out.
Yeah, I mean, you can call them out. You can be nice. You can be, sometimes I'll see like stories and beers and stuff, and the eye emoji. I'll just put a couple of them, let them know that I'm watching. Sometimes that can be a bad thing though. I think you've got to know when to do it and who to do it with.
Yeah, you don't want to put pressure on somebody where they feel like they can't enjoy themselves anymore.
Absolutely.
But I would argue, I'd rather you just tell me you're enjoying yourself. I would like to share in your joy of you going, hey, you're going out for dinner with some beers. Awesome. Where are you going? Was it good fun? Rather than having this thing of like Friday night going, hey man, let's smash it this weekend. And then I look at the stories on Saturday and I'm going, just tell me you just want to be on maintenance calories. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather that than I've nailed it. I'm like, but you haven't though, have you?
For me, it's very much a case of managing expectations. Yes, you can educate them, but once you've educated them and let someone know exactly what's probably going to happen to the body, how they're going to respond, then it happens, right? Which I love to see happen straight after. You've then got to be like, okay, well, because we did have X amount, we're probably not going to drop, even if your nutrition is perfect, which I want it to be, we're probably not going to drop weight this week. I just need you to know that, okay? Because we set a limit at 5 beers, but then you had 10 beers, but then you had 5 cocktails after it. And then the next day you had 5 more beers, which is a true story. I'm sure the gent won't mind me saying it. So we had to say to him, this is what's happened. We're going to have to do X, Y, Z, drop calories, do an extra little bit of cardio for you. And you still probably won't drop weight that week. The week after you will. Absolutely. But we need to manage those expectations, because otherwise you're going to get caught up in your head of, well, I haven't dropped weight. But at the same time, I'm not focused on you dropping weight. I'm focused on you moving better, lifting heavier, feeling more energetic, sleeping better, and stressing less. If I'm looking at all of them and you're sticking to nutrition, then fantastic. Because guess what? I know that you're going to be dropping body fat. I also know you're going to be building a little bit of muscle at the same time. So when we look at things like that, do we really need to see the scale drop every single week? We will see it drop some weeks, but we do need to see it every week? Absolutely not. So when we get a plateau, don't stress, but also just make sure you're talking to me about it. Because, as long as you're still doing the stuff that I've asked you to do in general, and, not turning up for your workouts because you've got no motivation, we're still on the right track. And it's just having that conversation with that person and making sure that you manage those expectations. That's something that I've learned a lot in the past 2 years, to help someone manage that expectation, because otherwise they're just going to get in their own head and they're going to press the fuck it button. And Wednesdays come in, they're having beers. Fridays come in, they're having beers and a takeaway. Saturdays come in, they're having a takeaway. That's when then they'll weigh heavy and they'll be like, oh, but I've been really good apart from this. Well, yeah, but the apart from this is kind of what's our downfall there.
Yeah, I think the management expectation is the big thing. And it's been the thing that I probably look at developing in my business more than anything else. It's taking away those excuses more than it is necessarily, reinventing the wheel. It's making sure you know what's going to happen, making sure finding avenues to make communication an easier process.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like there's very few things more frustrating than when you see someone who's not dropped for weeks and they're like, fine, no worries. And then 8-9 weeks down the line, they leave and they like, well, hey, can I just get some feedback? Anything I can do to better the service? And they start telling you things that they struggled with. I had a guy once that was getting really frustrated in his head that he wasn't losing weight. And I'd ask week on week, is everything sticking to your calories? You perfectly on it? Yeah, on it. Could you send me some food pictures? Didn't do it. Could you send me some more food pictures? Didn't do it. And then eventually was like, hey, I want food pictures now. Sends me them. We work out that he has 1,000 calories worth of sauce per day on his meals. And like in that situation there, I was like, if you'd opened up and communicated and sent the food pictures at the start, we would have solved this so long ago. Yeah. And you'd have been dropping and you would have been confident and we could have tried to find a source that works for you. We'd have found all these solutions, but people get themselves wrapped up in the problem and don't communicate. And going back to something you said earlier about building the diet with them. And I think this is something we both do. And I think it's something that we think it's very valuable. I'm very much I'll build this meal plan, but I get on a call and go, is there anything you don't like? And I'm as I'm getting more into this, I'm getting better at asking the right questions to get people to change foods to things they actually enjoy. But you'll see people come in with predetermined ideas about what foods need to happen. I need to be fasting, or bread is bad, or things like this, or like what? How do you help somebody? Or actually, better question: why do you think sometimes that, despite having that call, do people try and hide their food preferences from you? Because you'll see it when people go, yeah, that's good, I can definitely do that. And then 3 years down the line, they're struggling because they haven't got bread in the diet or haven't got this in the diet. Why do you think that people struggle so hard to communicate their struggles with coaches?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I mean, at first it might be that, it is that new relationship. There is still a little bit of building and bonding to happen, and they feel that maybe they might be ridiculed by said coach in the off chance that they do say that they like bread because they've been told on social media that bread's what makes it. And even now, do you know what? Right, I was in the middle of editing a TikTok there, obviously at the beginning of the call, and there's so much stupid advice on TikTok. Right, and it's so someone was like, a Baby Bell contains 25 grams of protein. Well, no, it contains about 3 grams of protein because it's like 75 calories. So how is something that's 75 calories going to have 25 grams of protein?
I like the broccoli comparison to chicken. The amount of broccoli you have, it's like, oh, it's the same. Well, let's put aside amino acids. It's not the same. But can you imagine the amount of fiber in that broccoli? You won't shit through it.
Yeah, I know, right? But like one that I feel like I'm going off. I will divert back to the question, but
right.
The one that I was editing was about incline walking and how people are like, oh, I know something you don't know. If you do this incline walking at 20 degrees and blah blah, then we're gonna get shredded for summer. I don't know if you've seen that, mate, but
no,
I'm like, no, I'm seeing it. It's like, yeah, do this for your workout 5 times a week, and I'm like, you fucking idiots. Like,
I get it.
Like, I hope I'm allowed to swear on this. It's way too late now.
Swear away.
It's way too late. I think I ask this question every time. Like halfway through, I'm like,
fuck shit balls, mate. Fuck shit balls.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, you fucking idiots. Like the amount of people that still believe it, and I think there is. I really shouldn't say that, fucking idiots. Really, I think it's.
They're just misinformed. It's the people peddling this information that's the problem, rather than the people listening to it. They don't know. They're struggling. They've been tried all this bollocks for years, and they haven't lost weight. And then this is why. It's because people with I saw. What was the one I saw recently? This guy going, the reason they're not losing weight is because they're not doing these hormonal fat loss workouts that take exactly 8 minutes.
Oh, but I mean, I'm going to go back to the question here. I think a lot of it is social media, because what they see on social media basically tells them this isn't allowed, this is allowed, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. So then when they talk to us, sometimes it's like, oh, well, I know that's stupid, so I'm not going to say it. And I think that's when they can start to hide things. And that's when people do start to become more, start to struggle more later on. I'll be totally honest. I don't put it in there initially, right? But when we've had a few calls, we can always get it worked in. We can use low dough, we can use wraps for this. But in my form, I get people to fill in at the beginning. It says, what foods do you enjoy? And I have to put in there, like, please be realistic. Bread's allowed, etc. Don't say pizza. Because I had it on a couple of forms where it was like, pizza. I was like, are you...
One protein shake and a Domino's pizza a day, and that would be your whole calories.
Because it would be. But that, again, you mentioned it before, that's not just the problem. It's the Domino's and the cookies and the garlic bread and the sides that you have with it, and then the dip. And
I'm hungry now.
Yeah, suddenly you've had 4,000 calories. Well, you were only on 1,800. So now you've more than doubled your intake for the day. How are you going to pull that back? How are you going to pull that back over the weeks? And again, now we need to manage those expectations and be like, you're probably going to gain a little bit of weight this week, or it's going to stay the same. because we've got more food volume, we've got more water weight, we've got more salt in the system. We're going to retain a lot more water. So,
what role do you think, going into the diet space and talks about how we can sort of solve this issue with clients, how much do you think it can be helped by adding in pre-planned pit stops, refeeds, or allowing the client the option to have a maintenance day? Like, explain to them early on in this managing expectations thing. It's like, if someone has a meal out on a Saturday, you can go, right, we've got option A, pick the best option. Option B, buffer calories. Option C, have a maintenance day, but you might understand this is a maintenance day. And having that option, as long as they don't do a maintenance day 3, 4, 5 times a week, which they probably wouldn't, you're in this situation where at least they know. It's like, if you choose this, it's a maintenance day. It's different from them trying to starve themselves into a pizza and then going over and going, fuck it. How much do you think this is made worse by people thinking, their calorie target is so set that even the slightest deviation is end of the world?
Yeah, I do think to an extent it is. And again, with managing expectations, if we did have a maintenance day, we need to let that person know. But I'm gonna be totally honest here. As I said, I would be on this call. No one joins a coach to lose 0.1 of a kilo a week. So, and that's just plain honesty. If you see what 0.1 of a kilo a week, I've said before, what would a successful week look like for you next week? And they're like, to lose a kilo. Yeah, again, a tangent. I had someone who they'd gone from 92 kilo down to 77.5. So what's that, about 2 stone? Big amount. Did it in about a year, I think it was. It was about a year. And they've said, I'm looking to finish within the next month, but I want to get down to 70 kilo. It's like, well, you're 7 points, like that's almost 8 kilo in a month. Like, we'll have to drop your calorie. Like, do you know what I mean? We'll have to drop the calories. We'll actually have to go sub 1,000 here, but it's not for very long. So let's just crack on then. You can't. I'll be realistic. You can't have any drinks there. You can't really have any food out. And this is where it is. Like, if we have that maintenance day, that's fine. But it and people might see this differently, right? People might say, well, no, it's the other way around. But it doesn't depend on the coach. It depends on the person that you're working with here. Because even if they're educated, they might have that psychology where, like, it's a maintenance day, I can still eat what I want.
Yeah.
They'll go out and they'll just get everything, mate. They'll just get absolutely everything. And then they'll get frustrated. Then they'll see that 0.1 of a kilo drop. They'll wish it was bigger. 3 months coaching is up. I'm going to have my notice in because it's not worked because I've only dropped 1.2 kilo. Well, you've had this maintenance day. You've been going off the handle on a Saturday. We agreed to go on that maintenance day, but we've been given an inch and you've been taking a mile. So, it very, very, very much depends who you're working with and whether you can actually strategize that. From my experience, anyway.
I completely agree that it depends on the individual, right? And I think it's one of those things. There's a fine line between taking the pressure, the all or nothing mentality away from somebody, and complacency. This is something that. So my fiance is currently getting coached by Paul Standel from formerly of Muscle Mentors. Because he's suffering with OCD, I thought it'd be a good fit, and I listen into her check-ins to give advice where I can. And he explained it really well. He was like, she was having a week where she was feeling worried about going over her calories ever so slightly. It was small increase over her calories, negligible impact. And we spoke about it. It was like, well, if you look at this, there's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. So you need to have, if you were going to go over on one day, you'd have to consume 3,500 calories over your maintenance calories. So let's say you're on 1,700, let's say your maintenance is 2,500. You need to consume an extra 3,500 over top of that. The chance of you doing that in one day is borderline impossible. Over a week or a big old weekend, very easy. Now, but and I've always said this to clients, but where he added something that was really good is like, but we want to make sure, knowing that it's important to know that if you go 100 over, it doesn't make a difference. But we don't want to get complacent. Understand, the closer you go to that, it will slow the rate of loss down. You will still lose fat, but you won't lose as much fat.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with that, that's fine, but don't worry too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great way of thinking about it, because when you look at it, it's like, hey, and I'm all for, the more I work with clients, I'm all for, it's like, right, this is what you want to do, or this is what you're doing, you're action adjusting. This is the result. If you're cool with that, no skin off my back. Your goal, your body, your life. But when you came here, you wanted this. So if that's changed, we can refine your goal.
Yeah.
But if not, then just be aware that you can't go for Domino Saturdays every week and expect to lose that 1% body weight drop per week. And most people at that point, if you explain to them, to fit in a Domino's, you need to buffer this many calories, you'll be this much hungry. Most people go, I don't want to refine the goal, or no, it's not worth the Domino's. And they come to that conclusion themselves, which makes the communication easier, because it's not like, Brett said I can't have a pizza. It's like, no, you can have one, but here's the consequences. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's those decisions you need to make. Your actions and your decisions align with your thoughts and your values. And if they don't, then take ownership. We're going to circle back to the beginning. Take ownership of it, because I can tell you to be on a certain amount. I can tell you to do the workouts, but if you don't do them, and coaching's a lot more than that, but if you don't do them, then me being here and being your coach isn't going to help you defy the laws of thermodynamics. It's not. We need to.
Yeah. What's your, from a business standpoint, a coach standpoint, what is your, because this is something that's been battling in my head, and I don't know whether I'm losing out on potential results for this as an honesty thing or not. What's your thoughts on touch points for accountability? Because you'll get coaches that goof, like you get some coach on one end of the spectrum where they're literally every meal hounding the client, send me a picture, send me a picture, send me a picture. On the other end of the spectrum, you'll get people that will say things like, every time a client opens your app, it's accountability. Every time they do a check-in, it's accountability. Every time they go to the gym and fill out the workouts, it's accountability. So you don't need too much more outside of your check-ins. And I suppose this is very individual to the client, but where is the point where it's too much, one, of your life, but too much that you actually have a negative effect?
So I used to check in. I'd check in on my clients on a Sunday, I'd touch base with them all on a Sunday and just be like, hey, check-ins are coming. Make sure you get your check-ins done. Check-ins will be done that night, and I'd do the check-ins. I've said check-ins a lot over the last 10 seconds. But then we'd do that on the Monday. So then they get the feedback, and then they can always talk to me on the Monday in regards to their feedback. I would then message them on a Wednesday or a Thursday and be like, how's things going? If they want me before that, more than welcome to drop me a message. But, now I do it a little bit more often where, you've got the Sunday, you've got the Monday, maybe a Wednesday and a Friday. Okay, for me now, rather than a Thursday, rather than the middle, Wednesday and a Friday. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people respond, some people don't, weirdly enough.
And it's the people often that, like, you go, oh, well, I chat to X client every day because he's nailing it. But that's the thing, it's the people that are nailing it that probably are the ones reaching out to you. It's the people that are quiet that you don't hear from are the problem. People that need more of the touch points.
Absolutely, and I'm not afraid of double texting, mate. To be honest, I'm not afraid of quadruple texting. If someone doesn't want to, because I don't have read receipts on because they piss me off. Because if I know that someone's been online and not read my message or my touch point, I'd be like, well, fucking come on. So I'll leave it a day or two. And I'll be like, hey, did you get my message? And then I'll not respond. I'll be like, hey, how's everything going? I don't like doing it every day. I've had that happen to me and I fucking hate it with a passion. I hated it. There's only so much, especially when things aren't going great. And that's from more of a personal level than a fitness level. But when things aren't going super great, that you can only be asked, how are you? So many times. you know, again, especially if you're not in mentally a great place, if you're being asked every day, how are you? Yeah, I'm the fucking same as I was yesterday. And the day before that. And the day before that. And, you know, not making as much money at the moment. And things aren't going very well, you know, all around. So, yeah, I'm fine. Nice one. Tomorrow comes. How are you? Yeah, still the fucking same, mate. Do you know what I mean? So I do like to have them touch points, but make them different. How's your week been? Right, that's one. I'm asking about work there. How's your training gone? How's nutrition? That's a different one. That's another day. You know, we've got check-ins coming up. Everything all right? That's a different one. Ask different questions. Be interested in them. Don't just, you know, try and check up on all this stuff. You know, ask how stuff's going at home. If you've got that connection with that person, you know, you might be able to do that. If someone's not responding, as I said, then I'll just be like, hey, did you get my message? Hey, is everything all right? Hey, if you need to chat, and I'll literally do that on a weekly basis. I'll be totally honest, totally transparent. I've had someone who's not responded to my message in the past 2 weeks. I don't understand why. I don't know why, but they won't respond for me to be able to get anything out of them. But I've literally messaged them 6 times.
I've had loads of that, and I think it's the thing with online coaching, right? And what I always wonder is if I spoke to these people, how quick a fix is half of these things that making people ghost people. And that whenever I've got somebody back who ghosted me for a while and I get on a call, it's often a problem I've solved in 5 minutes. 9 times out of 10, it's somebody who's like, oh, I got overwhelmed. Cool, what are you overwhelmed with? This. Okay, try that. Oh, is that it? Yeah. And I wonder how many of these people that truly ghost you go, if you just open and honest, we could have solved this and you could have been flying. How many more results could we have got? But you know, you've got to be ready to change, right? And as you said, we can support all we like, but we can just provide the platform.
Yeah. And you know, people listening might be like, well, hang on, this Brett sounds a bit of a dick. You know, people are ghosting him. You know, this is happening. Like, maybe he's not as good of a coach as he thinks he is. I'm all right. You know, I'm okay. But like, you know, it's a rarity, but it does still happen. It happened to this one's not me, but it happened to the best coach in the world. You know, you know, the worst coach in the world might have a lot of success in talking to people, but it's very dependent. And again, it depends in a way, I guess, on your approach, because I'm not always like straight to the point. I will be nice if it calls for it, which, you know, it's not often. No, I can be nice. But it just happens. And it's not a case of not wanting it enough. It's not, but it is a case of, how do we, like, do you still want what you said you want? It's not a case of, do you want it enough? It's, is it still the same?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you know, how are you going to get there acting the same way that you've been doing the last couple of weeks? Because, you know, you haven't been answering a few messages here. You're 0% compliant over the last 14 days, as seen on True Coach. You know, oh, well, I've done my workouts, right? But I'm not seeing that. If your workouts aren't ticked off, that's telling me the weights haven't been put in, the reps haven't been put in. So then how do you know you're progressing? So realistically, our actions aren't in alignment with our values and what we want, you know? So how do we now make that happen? But again, you've got to be on a call. You got to speak to someone. You almost got to have a call with that person to be able to decide that. And, you know, you've still got to decide whether, not just whether your goal is what you want, but whether coaching is what you want. You know, because if you're like, well, you know, it's not for me. I'm not, I'll be honest, mate. I'm not the type to be like, well, let's jump on a call. I used to be. Let's jump on a call. If someone's decided they're out.
Yeah. I still always jump on a call, because I've often, the amount of times I've talked to people around, not for the sake of my bottom line, but a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm not sure it's for me because I've not seen results in the last couple of weeks. Okay, cool. Let's talk through your diet. And we find 3 or 4 issues. You've got super quick fixes and you get moving and they're loving it. But it's always worth it. But if someone's, I never, ever want to be that person that jumps somebody on a call and makes them feel bad or puts pressure on them to stay. because of, well, you're not there yet, so you have to stay. No.
But
If I can't solve
think
this issue for you, then there's an issue.
I think that's where, not me and you are different, but like, I think we've got different personalities, not from every other coach, but we are a different cut from a number of other coaches, because I'll be honest, mate, I think that so many people out there are just a fucking cookie cutter of each other, delivering the same message in the DMs, delivering the same coaching that they found on a certain program that they can't think for themselves because they don't know how to program, mate. They got lean once, and now they're a coach themselves. They don't have the qualifications. Qualification isn't really worth the paper it's written on, but to most extent anyway. But these people, they don't know shit, but they're in mint shape, and people are going to go to them. They don't know how to fucking approach people. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to deal with certain situations. Just, hey, girl, you're making sure everything's all right. Just checking in with your hon. Like, fuck it, you're running a business. What are you doing?
Yeah. Like we spoke about a little bit off air, but like with that, and it's a really unique industry, where, as I said, someone can get 40-kilo guy soaking wet can look emaciated once and fill out the business programs with the right marketing strategy. Like what's your experience with imposter syndrome when you see that sort of stuff, when you see people killing it? Because you never know whether they're actually killing it, for one, and two, if they are, you sit there and go, what? Like, I 10-year veteran, paid for some of the best mentoring in the world, got some great results, got better social proof. What is it?
I feel like you're bringing something up that we spoke about before you hit record.
Well, I was going to talk about this anyway, but you brought it up beforehand, and I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna go into this in a different angle, and because I feel it too. I 100%.
Yeah, I get it a lot, to be honest. I've got it. I mean, I've got an element of. I've got an element of it at the moment, but not as much because of what's happening, which I'm quite excited about, to be fair. So, a lot of the online stuff, you see people who have got lean once or twice, and just they seem to be balling, And again, yes, it's social media, but sometimes when you see numbers and stuff, and it's like, well, the numbers don't really lie. That person might be making X amount a month and I get it. If you're going into an industry, if you're going into something to make money, you are going to fail, right? You need to do it for the happiness, and that's why I've done what I've done for such a long time. But for me, I saw a lot of drop-offs in terms of clients, in terms of numbers, especially at the back end of last year around Christmas time, and that really hit me hard. It hit me harder than it has ever done before. And, I've been doing this for 9 years. And so, now I'm taking the decision to actually leave the online space and go back, not just into in-person training, but into a group model where I'm employed by a fantastic company called the Training Club that are quite local to me. Well, they are very local to me, and they've got some unbelievable coaches there. But again, it's that in-person group model training. And, over time, over the last couple of months, over the last year or so, I feel like I've refined my message of who I'm speaking to and, how I can help with their problems. I've been like, my mentality at certain points has been shit. There's times I've struggled to, get in the shape that I want. I'm a stepdad. I work a lot from home, or I have done in the past. Now time is it's very valuable to me, but it's also very scarce. I've got a partner who works very long hours, sometimes 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. So there's a lot of responsibility put on me. So, I understand where people are coming from. And, sometimes when you feel, even though you feel that your message is strong, if it's not being, not reciprocated, but if it's not being heard, then I think you can start to get in your own head, and you still can start to question, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And I know that we've gone off on a completely different tangent here, but I still think it's something that's, it's very personable to me, and very important probably to a lot of other people. Like, it's not always easy. And, while we are PTs, while we are coaches, life isn't always easy for us. We can put up a selfie on social media because we want the validation. You know, we want the likes. We want that dopamine hit coming in there. But I can't remember who it was. I actually think it was Ed Sheeran. I seen a reel the other day, and it was like, you know, if someone puts something up on puts up a selfie of themselves, they want that validation because they've more than likely had a shit day. So they want people to be like, you look great, you know, and again, it all comes down to that imposter syndrome for me, where, you know, what am I doing wrong here? How can things be better in this position? Well, you know, if I put this up, then, you know, maybe someone will be like, oh, Brett, you're doing such a great job. Or, you know, maybe another coach will be like, oh, you know, what you're saying on social media is absolutely fantastic. But, you know, unfortunately, that doesn't pay my bills and that doesn't support my family.
Yeah.
And that's where that's sort of really hit me hard over the last couple of months. And, you know, I said that's why part of the reason why I decided to leave the online space, because I do feel like, and I'm not going to say it's saturated. I think it's saturated when you're looking for online coaches, because you'll probably be following a few if you're looking.
It's often saturated with very poor coaches, which might have big bank balances, but you can only sell shit once. So, you know, quality isn't as common as people think in the online space.
Well, absolutely, but then quality doesn't mean a lot anymore.
Not for people that don't know the difference. Well, when you go on social media, if I don't know anything about fitness, I don't know the difference between you and a Joe Wicks program. Not taking a shot at Joe Wicks. I actually like Joe Wicks, but he's not the best trainer.
No. But again, yes. So quality is important, but I don't think it's given enough attention anymore, because we can pretend to be whoever we want online. We can pretend that our businesses are thriving. We can pretend that we are, you know, the be all and end all. We've walked the walk. We're going to talk the talk right now. But in reality, that person might not know their ass from their elbow, but they're still bringing people in left, right, and center because their marketing's in the right place.
Or they're on Made in Chelsea, or they take anabolic steroids.
Or they're on Made in Chelsea, you know. But again, well, I say again, I haven't said this yet, but you know, you get mentors. I've had a number of mentors. I've had a number of coaches. I don't want this to be a woe is me, or, you know, my life's so difficult, because a lot of people have got it worse, but this is my experience. And, you know, I'm not one of them that's like, well, you know, don't complain about this because that person's got it worse. Well, no, my reality is that it hasn't been great. It's not so bad now, but it hasn't been great the previous few months.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my perspective. That's
and what floors you with stress is different to what floors me. It's stress and mentality and mental health is totally a subjective thing. Like, there is no benefit of comparing me to someone in Ethiopia who was starving. Like, our perspectives are totally different. I am very aware that they have it worse, but my reality is my reality, and it's subjective. What stresses me is not what stresses you, and vice versa.
Yeah, but do you know, with this imposter syndrome, I'll tell you, this would have been a lot worse if I had relied upon motivation to do all this stuff, to take the dog for a walk, to take Amelia to school, to turn up for training, to turn up for my business, to turn up for my partner, to organize date nights, you know, to get my training, to get my food. If I relied on motivation for all that, I don't know where I'd be right now. I don't know what position I'd be in, which is quite, it's a very deep conversation, this. I don't know how we got here, but I am glad we got here. I think, you know, it's important to think, if we didn't take this direction, or, you know, if we relied upon this, it could be in a different situation. I don't rely on motivation to do that. I rely on the habits that I've built. I know that other people are relying on me, because it's not just me that things are going to impact. And that's a really important question that, you know, people need to people need to think about. It's not just about you. Who else is this decision going to impact? Because for me, it's the coaches at training club. It's the members there. It's my partner. It's her daughter. It's my parents. You know, all these little things are going to add up. So if you don't do, it's my dog. Like, if you don't do the things that you said you do, it's not just you, it's impacting. So I could let this imposter syndrome like knock me for six, 100%. But I've had to show up, not just for myself, but for others every single day. And by doing that, I'm still putting myself first. I'm putting them in alignment. I'm still putting myself first. I have to. I've got no other option.
I think, yeah, I'll go on to the back into the imposter syndrome thing in a second, but I do think you raised a really important point there in terms of like knowing that the stuff that helps other people is doing stuff for yourself. Like we see this, moving this to a diet perspective, how many times you see somebody killing themselves in the business on 3 hours sleep a night, saying yes to everything, taking on more work than you need to have, to be at this point of thinking that that's what they need to do to provide for their family. When actually, no one wants to grow up with a dad that's not there. No one wants to have a dad that's too unfit to run around with their children. No kid is going to grow up in a better place because of being taught how to enter the world from a position of, inadequacy and a lack of confidence and disappointment. You take that same person that prioritized themselves and what was valuable to them. I'm not saying having a six-pack is the thing that has to be valuable to them, but taking ownership of the things that are valuable to them, that's going to have such a bigger impact on your children's lives, your family's lives, your partner's life, than having an extra 500 quid a month in your bank account.
Yeah. No, I agree. And, it's those values, it's those beliefs which you've got to hold to the higher standard. And that's, where Eudemism comes in and, who you identify as a person, like what is it that's important for you? And then, we can transition that back to the nutrition side. If I didn't have my training and my diet, not just on point, but if I didn't let those two be a priority for me, I wouldn't have the energy at the same time to be able to go on walks, take Amelia out, go date night with Jodie. Like, I wouldn't have the energy to do that. So whilst I've still had to show up, I still need to make sure that things happen for me. How am I going to say this? Yeah, I've had to make sure that things happen I've had to make sure that I do things so that things happen for me, because I don't want that victim mindset of things are happening to me.
Yeah.
Things are happening for me. So I need to go out and make a difference. If my business isn't doing as well as I want it to be, keep fucking showing up. I could have stopped posting, doing stories in December when it got really bad. I had to keep pushing because there was something more important there, and it wasn't my business. It was my family, and that's what I hold to the absolute highest. So yeah, especially if you've got someone that relies on you, it's one of them. I fucking do it for them, because if you've got a partner, even if they're supporting you, even if they're not, fucking have that. It's not motivation. It's something bigger. It's that why that we spoke about at the beginning.
Yeah, I think going back a little bit to the imposter syndrome, I thought it's a really interesting thing. And if there's people wanting to get in shape, listen to this. Maybe this is if you ever sign up for a coach, maybe this is your wake up call to never ever ever fucking ghost them. But if you're a coach listening to this, I think this is really valuable to know you're not alone. I know from my perspective, I'm very humbled about the fact there are a lot of coaches that sounds really wanky to say, but sort of look up to me after mentoring. I lost count of how many coaches I've mentored directly.
That is super wanky, Simon.
It is super wanky, innit? But I've had coaches that worked under me as clients, things like this.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of compliments from them for the results I produce. But at the same time, the thing where I think I sometimes get the biggest imposter syndrome is because I take my results super personally. And when I look at people who I've known or worked with, and I go, not calling anyone out for this, because if they get results, they get results. And I look at some of the results they get and I go, I've been in this industry twice as long. I know more about programming and nutrition than you ever do. how are you doing this?
Mm.
That's the one that gets me. When I see someone a year in getting people that are absolutely, like, so many people absolutely dice, which means either they've gotten so many clients to have the machine gun approach to make that many results, or they're onto something that I'm not aware of. I'm like, how have I missed this? Do you get that? Because that's something that I get on an almost daily basis.
Yeah, it does happen. I would say that was part of it. I was still. It's a results-driven industry. Even if that's not your message, you can. People want to get leaner. People want to get in shape. That's why they sign up for a personal trainer or an online coach. That is essentially the main aim. No one really comes and is like, I'm in mint shape, but I want to work on my head. It doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen often. So when you do see people who are less experienced, no one owes it to me to come to me. For me to get them a result. Someone's message might be a lot better than mine and might hit someone a little bit harder. But yeah, there's been plenty of people where I've seen the results and been like, that's really good. That's really good. But why did that person not come to me? And again, no one owes it to me. I don't feel like the world owes me anything. But there's times where it's like, level of frustration there.
It's interesting that you look at this from a perspective of the client. Like, why look at it and go, my imposter syndrome looking at a better result. Well, I say a better result. Like, in comparison, I've had some amazing results. I'm very, very grateful to work with some people. But it's amazing that when I look at my results, if I get like Mika, for example, my most famous result of May coaching, I will go, Mika worked really hard. The ownership goes to Mika.
Yeah.
When I look at a result from another coach, you phrase that as, why didn't that client come to me? Why didn't my message get that client who was willing and ready to make that change? Whereas I have a different opinion to how I look at my own clients. And I look at that going, how did that coach do that?
Yeah.
Rather than, it's not the coaching that's different, it's the people coming in the door that's different. I look at that very much of like, is there something, am I not communicating enough? I asked the question about touch points. And this is part of the reason why I was like, am I not doing this enough? Am I doing it too much? Am I overwhelming people? Like, what is this? And that's the thing I always say, oof.
Yeah, it makes you sort of think, it does make you sit back and think like, I wonder what they said. I wonder what they said that would have been different from me, because, I've got a guy in a similar situation who, and this is just hypothetical, but I've got a guy in a similar situation, and, it's not working. It's going a little bit slow right now. So how did they do this in this amount of time and do that? Maybe that person was just worked very hard. They were more susceptible to getting lean a little bit easier than maybe. I don't like this bit, but metabolism was a little bit higher. When we say that, maybe the steps were a little bit higher, all this sort of stuff. But yeah, it's a funny one. It does make you sit back and think, doesn't it? I try not to. Since the end of last year, I try not to focus too much on it, zone in too much on it. It's very much what I tell my clients. If social media is fucking with your head, then don't go on it or limit it. They might be your pals, but hide the posts, hide the stories. Because everyone is showing the best bits. So that transformation that you're seeing is the best out of the lot. If they have got a machine gun approach, maybe they've got 3 in quick succession out of 20 clients. But for me, I just found it easier, and because I feel like I have to be on social media, I have to have a presence, especially in the online space, which I will still have a presence when I leave the online space. But I feel like I won't have to sell myself as much.
The pressure will be off a little bit more, right? You can be a bit more.
Yeah, 100%. Which, I might find easier, but I try not to be on social media so much, because it does affect me. And then it does end up affecting your relationship. But, you know, when you're on your phone all the time and stuff, and it's like, come on, sorry. She might be like, oh, you know, I've been at work all day, and I'm there like, yeah, well, let me just post this. And, you know, there is a lot of pressure to it. So I try not to get inside my head, because I could ask myself why that person didn't go to me. Because, you know, I would have loved that result. I would have loved to help that person. Would have loved a little bit more income as well. You know, if I'm being honest. But, you know, if I do that, why didn't this work out for me? Why didn't this happen? I'm focusing too much on the negatives, man.
Yeah, I agree. I always like reframing imposter syndrome, because I can sit there and go, I wish I never had it. And sometimes it does stop me acting, and sometimes it does make me feel bad. But on the flip side of that, having that there is also the reason why I keep meeting great people in terms of mentoring, the reason why I keep reaching out for consults, the reason why I keep improving my service, the reason why I keep asking my clients for feedback. If I didn't have imposter syndrome, if I didn't see those moments, would I get too comfortable? Would I become too stagnant? Would my results get worse? Because I don't have that drive. My drive is, wow, right, where can I improve? Where can I create a better product? And I think a little bit of imposter syndrome, to a degree, is what keeps us pushing.
Yeah, I think having that, I think if you, as you said, if you reframe things, it can be very, very important. It can be very powerful. You know, I mean, the last 20 minutes there, I sounded very downbeat talking about, you know, my experiences. But 95% of the time, like, no one would ever have been able to tell, because I reframed it that much for everyone, for me and for everyone around me, because I couldn't let it impact them. You know, I do think having that growth mindset is important. If you don't have that growth mindset, then, you know, you probably are more likely to get in your head and listen to that voice in your head and saying, you know, you're not good enough. You're, you know, there's other people better than you. No one's going to come to you. But it's having to do something, whether you like to or not. It's having to do it, and that's part of the process. And again, like we spoke about at the beginning, but like, that part is even loving the process. You know, I said that the pressure will be off, but I'll still be posting 4 or 5 times a week on social media. I'll still be reaching out and helping the odd person. You know, it's who I am.
Yeah.
They're my values, they're my beliefs. If I relied on motivation to do all of that, it wouldn't be happening, mate.
Here's a question. Like, do you ever sometimes wish you didn't have the responsibility to be in shape? Because as personal trainers, we feel that we always have to be at a, like, not that we'd go and get fat if we didn't, but like to look like we train, to be in a relative level of body fat, to be consistent with training pretty much year round. Do you ever sometimes feel that you wish you didn't have that responsibility?
Yeah and no. I mean, I enjoy training. I enjoy dieting. You know, I'm very much, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'll show you as most people have seen with this podcast so far, like, I am very open about everything that I talk about. Okay. So people know that I enjoy pizza. People know that I used to love a burger. I've actually been put off them lately, as I got food poisoning, which is a crazy story. You know, I'm very open about the foods that I enjoy. In terms of like being in shape or out of shape, it depends how you see it. You know, especially if you're training for aesthetics, then, you know, you can have that pressure on you. But, you know, I'm not training to be super lean and this sort of thing. You know, I'm just training because I love training, especially at the moment. You know, over the last couple of months, I've really, really loved my training. I've got a newfound love for it. And even with the nutrition, it's more habitual. Like, I don't feel, for me, there's any pressure there, because I'm not this big jacked up guy. Well, it depends how much of a pump I've got on, to be honest. I'm not this big jacked up guy, you know. I always see myself as still that 16-year-old skinny kid, but, you know, I understand that I have put on a fair amount of muscle since then. but I don't think anyone expects me to be in amazing shape. I think that what is expected is that I do train and that an element of my eating is relatively healthy. And I think for me, they're my expectations. And that's how I try and manage that. So I don't really put that pressure on myself. However, I know that others do. And that's why I often see on social media loads of coaches who will do photo shoots. Not that photo shoots are a bad thing, Simon, right? But I will see coaches who do photo shoot after photo shoot after photo, or competition after competition after competition, because they almost want that validation of others constantly. Yeah, I mean, I've spoken about validation already, but they want that validation of others constantly that they are in amazing shape. And I think that's where you can feel the pressure. Whereas I don't put that pressure on myself to being, absolutely sliced and diced. So I don't think anyone expects that of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I get that. I certainly, I think I've come full circle on this to a degree. And I've noticed trends. And it's interesting going about the photo shoot thing. Like, for me, I generally think I used to struggle with this, in the sense, especially when I worked where I used to work, and there was an expectation of you to be in shape. And I think it's been hardwired into me a little bit, and sometimes a bit hard to shake, when you were lined up and made to take your shirt off to do fat tests as a group of coaches and things like this. Like it does play like, if I'm 14-15% body fat, I'm fat, which is mad. I could put on lots of muscle and still not feel as big as like Justin McGuire, or when Nick Daniel was 110 kilos, well, I'm small then. And to show you that's not just me, Nick Daniel still feels he's small. And that's mental for anyone that knows Nick. So it's that. So I think I battled with that for a long time. I think over the last few years, certainly moving out to Hong Kong has certainly taught me, and probably getting older and into my 30s, that I'm like, do you know what? I don't need to be a certain way. As long as I look like I train to a degree, now to be the biggest guy in the room, then generally I'm happy. But I do notice a trend. It's interesting you mentioned about photo shoots. When I diet down for a shoot and I see the peak of what I can look like at that moment in time, I tend to feel great for about 3 months. And I say about the 4 to 5 month mark afterwards, for about the year afterwards mark, that's when I start to get it a bit. Like in this phase that I'm in right now, I sometimes go, oh man, I didn't look as good as I did 6 months ago. I'm starting to lose structure and routine. And I start to get a little bit of like, oh man, I've got other priorities now. Yeah. I can't keep that same level of effort up. And then I find my balance and I get back in and I'm okay. But it's interesting you mentioned photo shoots, because I see that trend where I feel really good around shoot time. And then about 5-6 months later, I feel that pressure more than I did during the shoot prep. And then I find a happy middle ground. I'm there until whenever I decide to do another shoot, or whenever I take a picture of my back and realize how far it's gone in the last couple of years.
I find that I'm largely unhappy I'm more unhappy the leaner I get.
Interesting.
Which, we teach that when you get lean, you'll have more confidence and you'll feel happier. But, getting leaner and dieting down for me has never, ever been a priority. I've done it. Don't get me wrong, I've done it, but it's never been a priority. And for me, there's times there where I do feel restricted and I don't enjoy my training, which I imagine a large amount of people are in a similar position when they get around there. But as you said, I'm in my 30s now. When I was early 20s, I probably would have been like, suck it up. But now I'm like, well, who the fuck am I trying to impress? Am I doing this for me? Am I doing this for other people? Is it a level of leanness that I want to get to? If so, why? Well, my why is different to yours. So my goal could be completely different. And that's why, for me, I don't see the necessity in it. I don't see that I have to get lean or leaner. I feel like I'm in all right shape. I just want to enjoy stuff at the moment, because when that pressure is on, then I'm more, well, not always, but when there's an element of pressure to be in this position that you don't want to do something, but there's a pressure there, fucking unhappiness is bound to follow. Whereas, if you're like, yeah, I'm going to get lean, fancy doing it, then there's no pressure there.
Yeah.
There's no pressure to do that. But it's not something that I feel that is there for me. I just want to enjoy training. I want to enjoy my food. I want to enjoy my life. I want to enjoy my home life, my work life. That's something, again, over the last few months, I've struggled with sometimes. And so I just want to feel good. And that's the aim with my training. I just want to feel good. I want to be part of something. I want to be part of an atmosphere, part of that togetherness. Again, that's for me why I joined that group training. Because being at home on your own in the online space, just you and your dog, it can get lonely, man. And that's especially if you've got a partner doing long hours, you got the kid, she's going playing on her iPad, you don't have anyone to talk to. So for me at the moment, yes, I am going into a new experience in terms of work. There is an element of pressure there, but I feel that that's something that, because I'm wanting to go into it, that I'm going to thrive off doing. And I'm so excited for it. And I mean, if I was someone else, I might say that motivation's grown a little bit. But for me, it's just that, I don't know, I could feel like it maybe kickstarting something. Maybe, maybe I'll start to work harder. Maybe I'll start to be a lot more productive.
It's a new environment, right? Sometimes that is a huge win.
I've got to prove myself, man. So there is that element there, but that's something that I can't wait to do. Whereas, if someone expects something of me that I'm not necessarily wanting, if that is a level of leanness, then there's going to be that pressure there that I'm not too happy with.
Do you think that you've almost earned the right to find that middle ground because you have done it? Like, if a client came to you and like, where's that difference between you saying, I just want to be strong and enjoy the process and I don't really care about being lean, to the client that is, their actions aren't in line with where they wanted to be, that we spoke about at the start?
How would I have that conversation?
A bit half of that conversation, but do you think you'd have, it's for most guys, it's worth going there once to understand what balance truly is? To be able to have that, I just want to be happy in my training, is much easier to do and look all right once you've gotten really lean and go, right, what about this do I enjoy? What about this do I need to, I couldn't care less about? And where's the balance? Is it hard to find balance when you don't know where the end line is?
Yeah, I do agree there. I do agree. I think it does depend on where that person is in their life as well. If they just want to enjoy the training and they're 40 years old and stuff like that, and they're in all right shape, but they're not super lean, they're carrying 15 to 20% body fat, you just figure something out with them. You don't need to get them super lean. However, if you're maybe a little bit younger, I do think there was an element of, okay, well, let's try it this way. Let's see where we're at. If you fucking hate it, we'll pull back. There's no necessity to do it. And I think that's where it's important to, again, work with the client and not let your goals be their goals.
100%. And this is like what we spoke about at the start, right? About, I would rather have communication and ownership either way. Ownership doesn't have to be, I need to be shredded. Ownership can be, actually, I'm starting a business. That's my priority right now. I just don't want to get fat. I want to be able to have a break and have a beer. And I would rather that, because rather than it be something where I'm trying to push something on you that you said you wanted, I'd rather be in that position where you go, do you know what? It's not for me right now. I want to get strong. Cool. Because then we can have much more fun in the coaching process, not trying to push you to be leaner when you don't really want it. I'd much rather you go, cool, you're going to have a few beers on the weekend, but let's get you your first chin up. Let's get you a 100 kilo bench press. Let's put some muscle on you. And that's going to be a much more enjoyable process both ways. And in turn, you're going to be more fulfilled. You're going to get better results. And if your goal at some point is to get shredded, taking that pressure off when life kicks your ass, sometimes could be a thing that down the line allows you to go for it, which might not have been if you try to bang your head against the wall and put yourself so far off the process you never apply stuff again. But again, as I said, it depends who you're working with, and it's that level of what's complacency. For one person to go, business is too busy, I just want to pull back right now, and another person that's just making excuses.
Yeah.
I suppose it's how well somebody knows themselves and their why.
Yeah, it's learning to manage those expectations so that when the pressure is on, they don't crumble. And that's something that, I've had to manage myself, I've had to manage with a lot of clients. And then we're not relying on that motivation because the pressure's often with managed expectation.
Yeah. So when it comes to tie this up, like, how would you encourage them? When someone comes to you and they're full of excuses and they're not taking ownership, what things do you do with somebody to help them learn to love the process? Whether that's learning to love the gym if they don't love the gym, or learning to love the diet if they don't like the
diet? It depends who it is. Good question, that, to be fair.
Let's start with the training. Maybe break that down. Maybe that's easy. How do you get someone that's not naturally inclined to enjoy the gym to love the gym?
I'd probably ask them like what stuff they enjoy doing in there, and then I'd start building a program around that. If you said to me, right, Brett, we're going to write you a program, what exercises do you think you get the most out of? I'd be like, cable chest press, maybe a lat-based row, and a couple of things around that, right? Maybe a T-bar row. All right, I'll give you two, T-bar row and cable chest press. If I then base your program around them movements, then you might be like, we might lead up to that cable chest press. You might get loads there, and you might enjoy it a lot more. Same with nutrition. I found nutrition so easy to stick to when I had that evening meal that I just loved. I used to have, get a chicken, put it in panko breadcrumbs, put some garlic butter in, and I'd stick it in the air fryer for 20 minutes. So it'd be like a homemade chicken Kiev, and I buzzed off that. I used to look forward to that every day, and I had it for like 4 months. So if you've got that thing that you're looking forward to, whether it's in your program, whether it's in your nutrition, then it's going to make the whole process so much easier. Even if then you're struggling, right, well, what can we actually do? And I actually got this from Luke Lehman. What can we do in your lifestyle that we're going to tick off? So we're not just going to tick the workouts off, because sometimes if you've missed a workout, you can feel like you failed. You failed that week, so everything else gets missed off, right? But if you're getting back and you've got that time of an evening to train, but then 9 till 10:30, you're gaming, you're on the computer. Well, let's put in 90 minutes of gaming on our coaching app, and I want you to comment on there what you did, what the results were for. So I did it with one guy where we'd put 2 hours of gaming every single night, and every night he had to write what he'd done. It was like Final Fantasy 14 leveled up to level such and such. And so as he was ticking them off, it felt like, because you're getting that green instead of that red, you're getting that tick instead of the cross. Okay, I'm doing that. I'm being accountable because I'm having to write it to Brett. I'm gonna start, and it starts that domino effect. It starts that I've done this, so I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna tick that off. It's little things, but it's big things at the same time.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I also think as well, like what. And this comes back down to communication. Like, what is the friction that you're feeling? Like, a personal story for me and my coach at the moment, I work with Blake, who's one of Alan Crester's coaches. And I was having a period of time, the gyms have been closed here for so long. And I was in a bit of a training rut. Like, I wasn't really enjoying my training, doing a bit outside, doing a bit, when the gym's open again, doing a bit in the gym. And I was like, why can't I get into this in the same way that I was before? And one of the things that I realized is, like, for ages, like, why I've gone through bouts of enjoying my training, but why haven't I really enjoyed it like I did when I was in my early 20s? I'm like, in my early 20s, I didn't know anything about mechanics or anatomy. So if everything looked terrible, I didn't know about it. So I just came in and trained. Just came in, ripped shit up and left. And then this thing that's followed me around for like the last 7-8 years of Simon's the personal trainer that's movement is so bad that he's like one of our clients, which has helped me improve a lot of other people's movements. But I was like, and I said to him, I was like, I probably don't get the most as I could motivation-wise, enjoyment-wise out of my training because I always think about how limited I feel in terms of movement. And now we've put a program together that while expose all my weaknesses and sucks, I am now looking at, okay, I've got main lifts that I don't feel like a failure in, and I've got accessory work that's actually putting in place to try and sort these issues.
Yeah.
And in turn, I'm more motivated to do it because like, okay, cool, I can get rid of this stereotype. And I think the art of a logbook. I think when people start taking a logbook and they start realizing that they're getting stronger, all of a sudden things fall into place in terms of enjoying the gym. It's not I have to go to the gym. I get to because I get to put 2.5 kilos extra on my bench.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you get to do things, you don't have to.
Yeah,
it's all about that reframing.
So I know you're a busy guy. You've now got online clients, in-person clients, new venture starting soon. So I won't take you up all your day, but tell us a little about the new venture. Tell us where people can find you if they want to work with you online and they want a no bullshit approach that's sometimes nice or want chats about dominoes. Where can people find you and tell us about the venture that's coming up soon?
You can find me in my house, to be honest. No, it's terrible.
You made that joke last time. I've got to give you a address eventually and see how many people knock on your door.
Find me Brett Mac Coaching at Brett Mac Coaching on Instagram. Brett Mccarten Online Coach or Coaching on Facebook. As I said, I'm looking to leave the online space very soon. So there wouldn't be much scope, but we'll see. Going back to in person. Join JD, leaving JD because this opportunity came up and it's not one that I can pass up. So I will be joining the training club, which is a Northeast-based facility. We train men only. And that is group training. And that's where I'm currently a member. And the coaching is phenomenal. The level of togetherness, that brotherhood is phenomenal. And it's something, to be fair, that I am really, really excited to be a part of. I feel like my passion has come back a lot over the last couple of months, especially since everything sort of really hit me towards the back end of last year. I'm excited to see what happens over the next couple of years, to be honest, because I genuinely think that this place that I'm going into will be going places, and that's I'm all in on that.
And where is the gym for people that may be nearby want to check it out?
It is Washington, and that's Washington near Sunderland, in the northeast. It's in an industrial estate. They are looking to move to a bigger facility because they are maxing out at the moment. That's why they brought another coach in terms of myself. But it's a fantastic facility, as I said, fantastic coach, fantastic members. And, we do get guys from all over the Northeast. So, if you are a Northeast-based male, then this really is something special. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, it does sound interesting, and the stuff they put out content-wise does sound like it's something that's tapping into a market that's definitely underrepresented, and something to watch. And I'll put the links to them in the show notes below. And obviously, I know you're just starting there. You're going into a little bit of education sort of role with them, I think, from what you've been saying. But I will definitely come pay a visit when I come back in June, July. And if there's anything collaborative wise that you think will help the guys there, I'll happily come and help out just for my time and a training session. And that's worth everything.
Man.
Yeah, so awesome. Let me know. Simon, thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it. It's been a really, really good, open, honest chat. And I got to rethink the title of the show because it changed from I was learning stuff, the process, honest chat, motivation is bullshit. it's always good when you want to change the title. So thank you very much.
Nice one, man. I appreciate you taking me on.
No worries. Anytime.